McLaren's move for Oscar Piastri last season was the off-track highlight of the year. The now legendary tweet from Oscar denying he was joining Alpine should be framed and put in the F1 Hall of Fame in my opinion. Karma does come around though, and McLaren are now on the receiving end of a driver not wanting to join their team. The Alex Palou contract drama currently playing out in Indy Car is having a knock-on effect on the F1 team, so let's check it out. For those of you that don't know him, Alex Palou is kind of a big deal in IndyCar. The 26-year-old, in just his second season in the sport, driving for Chip Ganassi Racing, won the 2021 IndyCar Series Drivers' title, beating a few names you might recognise, such as Pato O'Ward, Colton Herta and Marcus Ericsson. He then repeated that feat in 2023 with the same team, but this year he's absolutely dominated the championship, taking the driver's title by 78 points, picking up 5 race wins on the way. Understandably, he's pretty happy at Chip Ganassi Racing, having won 2 of the last 3 championships in their car, but that hasn't always been the case. There is actually a bit of a contractual saga going on here. It all started with a protracted legal battle over his services for 2023, when Ganassi filed a lawsuit against its own driver after he signed a contract with McLaren in the summer of 2022. A legal mediation led to him staying with Ganassi for this season, which worked out pretty well for him in the end, but allowed him to drive McLaren Formula 1 cars and serve as the team's reserve F1 driver. Following this season, he seemed set to join the Arrow McLaren F1 IndyCar team for 2024 and continue as McLaren F1's reserve driver when he wasn't competing in the IndyCar season. That is no longer happening though, in what has turned into a drama far surpassing that which Oscar Piastri caused last season between Alpine and McLaren in F1. In a statement, McLaren Racing's chief executive Zak Brown said, "I'm extremely disappointed that Alex Palou does not intend to honour his contractual obligations to race with us in IndyCar in 2024 and beyond." In a letter sent to McLaren employees after final practice at Indianapolis in early August, Brown wrote, "This is incredibly disappointing, considering the commitment he's made to us both directly and publicly, and our significant investment in him based on that commitment." He also pointed out the time, money and resources preparing to welcome Alex into our team, because we believed in him and were looking forward to IndyCar wins with him. Palou had been an integral part of McLaren's F1 testing of previous cars program, driving most recently at the Hungaroring in June, alongside regular race driver Oscar Piastri, after previous tests at the Red Bull Ring and Barcelona. He also drove in Free Practice 1 at last year's United States Grand Prix and was present at May's Miami Grand Prix as McLaren's reserve driver. But why is all of this happening? Palou was thought to be a promising F1 prospect for McLaren's F1 team. His appearance in various test sessions tells you that McLaren clearly thought he had potential, but backing out of his contract with the team and going to Chip Ganassi Racing means an F1 move is almost impossible now. Speaking about his decision, he said, "So then it changed. The door opened a little bit with McLaren. It was amazing. I got to test the F1 cars and also practice 1 at COTA last year, which was amazing. The opportunity was great, but there was nothing else there saying, 'Oh, you will have a car.' At the same time, if I was 20, maybe I would have waited. But I'm not 20, I'm 26, and on that side, I don't know if there's been somebody aged 30 getting into Formula 1. Alex's decision to ditch McLaren is perhaps a reflection of the lack of opportunities there are for drivers in Formula 1. It is so difficult for drivers outside of the FIA's feeder series to get a seat in Formula 1. Nick de Vries is the only driver I can think of in recent years, and even he had an F2 championship under his belt before joining Formula E. Not that he is a glowing recommendation for hiring drivers from other series to race in Formula 1. Obviously, McLaren are not happy about him ditching them for the 2024 season, having secured his signature back in 2022. The Spaniard has confirmed that McLaren are suing him in the United Kingdom for damages, because Palou does not intend to join McLaren as planned in 2024. McLaren had made Palou its reserve driver in Formula 1, where it has spent significantly on his development and claims to have paid him in advance on his 2024 salary, as well as his legal fees in last year's fight with Chip Ganassi Racing. McLaren is seeking to recoup something between $20 and $30 million in damages, stemming from Palou renegading on his McLaren deal. It was the money spent on development that Alpine wanted to sue Oscar Piastri for last year, when he made the switch to McLaren behind their back. Formula 1 teams spend millions upon millions of dollars to bring drivers through junior series and rent out tracks to let them test on. But you all know that motorsport is incredibly expensive already. While the lawsuit was contained within the McLaren IndyCar team, it's now spread to the F1 team. With Alex not honouring his deal with Mclaren in Indy Car, it is unlikely he'll be turning up to act as their reserve in Formula 1 for the rest of the season. Instead, McLaren's current IndyCar driver, Pato O'Ward, will get a Formula 1 practice outing later this season, while the team's racing CEO Zak Brown expects Alex Palou not to turn up for their reserve driver duties this weekend in Singapore. Asked how the Palou situation has changed McLaren's F1 plans, Brown said, "He's still our reserve driver. So that's changed because I don't think he's going to show up in Singapore, which he's obligated to. But we have had a couple of different reserve drivers during the year, so we're now going to have to extend that." Brown added Palou was supposed to be with us every race post-season as a reserve driver. When asked if he was pretty sure Palou would not be with the team in Singapore, Brown added with a laugh, "I'm pretty sure." Although then quipped, "We've got his hotel room booked." According to Brown, he's not heard a single word from him personally since this all happened. And when asked how disappointing that was, Brown said, "It's pretty surprising how it's been handled. That's what's happened, but then there's also how it's been handled. That's probably as surprising as anything." Brown claimed his suspicions were first raised by Palou during IndyCar's month of May at Indianapolis, but that it wasn't really until Nashville that it kind of confirmed my suspicions. He also said he'd been assured by the Palou camp on multiple occasions about their agreement, as recently as last month's Nashville IndyCar round, just 1 week before Brown first claimed that Palou had backed out of his McLaren switch. Asked by the race if he could confirm if Brown was right and he wouldn't be at the Grand Prix, Palou replied, "Yeah, first of all, it's because I can't, just because of the championship win, and we're going to LA now for the end of season prize giving next Sunday, and then we have some testing for the 24 car in IndyCar. Yeah, the plan's changed. I'm not going to go to any F1 races." Though Palou has unsurprisingly, and wisely given the legal situation, not opened up in detail on his side of the McLaren versus Ganassi story. He has always answered questions about it to the degree he feels he can, rather than giving a blanket no comment as many surely would. He was the same last year when the first episode of this saga unfolded. In the event that McLaren are in need of a reserve driver for any of the races, they have a few options to choose from. Mick Schumacher is available as a reserve driver as part of an agreement with Mercedes, though he probably wouldn't have been their first choice. The team would likely have preferred to use Pato O'Ward as their reserve driver, but his 9th place finish in IndyCar's final race of the season meant that Scott McLaughlin finished 4 points ahead of him in the Drivers' Championship. Pato's 4th place finish at the end of the season leaves him 6 points short of the required 40 for an FIA super license. A 3rd place finish would have bagged him the required points though. Pato can still drive in a free practice session without an FIA super license though, which means we will see him on track before the end of the year. Why is it that McLaren has got caught up in another one of these big contractual sagas? Is Palou right to move away from a chance in Formula 1 considering how difficult it is to break into the sport? And how do you think Mick Schumacher would do given the chance to race in a McLaren? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.